about now. So I think it's
Okay,
it's
this
live
looks
now.
like having.
So are we on the air, John? We're live on the air, huh?
We're getting close to being on the air. We're getting close if we're not on the air yet.
Have any of you guys
But,
been to the Groton submarine base? Have you ever gone to that?
We're live now, baby. We're live now.
Electric boat.
Yeah, where they build the submarines there. Their museum there, they have the Nautilus parked in the water right there. You could go through it. And going through the museum is the whole history of submarines and how they got to where they are. And it's if you're working in New York or anywhere in the area, it is worth taking an extra day and going to the submarine base and going through the museum. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. They have many submarines there from years and years and years ago, and they have a couple of the first ones that were like hollowed out logs with little screw things that they had to do by hand, and it's just crazy stuff. It was just amazing.
Did they have the first screen door that was ever used on a submarine in that museum?
Well, of course they do.
Yes, but you wouldn't recognize it because it's been covered up with that Flex stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they fix it.
Yeah, Flex Seal. For some reason, I like that guy. I don't know why. There's something about him, his personality.
I will admit I have used Flex Seal for a couple different applications, and it worked.
It works. Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool. That's
cool. I didn't make a boat out of a screen door, but I used the caulk type product for some cracks in my gutter, just like he did. Worked fine.
Did your basement leak during a rainstorm?
I used the tape product as sound deadening in my car.
Wow.
And it worked great.
So, I mean, they must have some acoustic treatment on a submarine that's off the hook. And I know everything on the submarine is quite expensive, like ashtrays, $250 because they're unbreakable. But I don't believe they smoke on a submarine.
No,
I wonder if they allow them to smoke.
There are no ashtrays on a submarine.
There are no ashtrays on submarines. Remember that, folks.
What
You
about
heard it here
toilets?
first.
What's the toilet like and the bathroom like? What's the living conditions in
First of
general?
all,
Well, they don't call
you're
it.
on
They
a
don't call it a
ship.
toilet. They call it a head.
Exactly.
Right?
You're on a ship. It's called the head,
And it's very small.
not a bathroom, and you back into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, whether you
on
have to
that
go
show-
one or two, it doesn't matter, right? You're back in anyway.
on that show, they do a whole section with regarding bathrooms and how they deal with it all. So you really need to go watch that show on YouTube. It's just so worthy.
Okay, it's called Smarter Every Day.
Smarter Every Day, and he has like 10. Do you think maybe 10 series on being on the nuclear submarine? So it's just so
Well,
good.
Well, this has been very interesting, and we're going to continue this interesting conversation. Welcome everybody to the roundtable. This is our 70th. That's 2 and 5 is 7 plus a 0. That's the 70th meeting of the roundtable. It's no longer called a mastermind, but I still think it's a mastermind because all these guys are pretty much that come in every day and every week, every week, are pretty masterful in what they say. So it really is still the mastermind. But just remember, everything you hear is an opinion. So do your own fact checking and just remember to have a good time and enjoy it. We're on Facebook, YouTube. I think we're on Twitter today as well, and LinkedIn. So we're not streaming to LinkedIn, but we did promote it on LinkedIn this week. So if you're watching this now, thank you for watching. If you're watching it later, thank you for watching it later. And that's it. So before we get started, we have Kenny Newman in the room. Normally he's here live, but Kenny is in the car, driving safely. But tell us, what are you doing? Why are you in the car? And where are you headed?
Whoa. Yeah, I almost hit the construction cone. I'm just going to the Westgate where I'm going to do my weekend gig with Barry Manilow. And then we also have a benefit on Monday night, some kind of hotel-related benefit featuring Macklemore, and I'm being front of house tech for Macklemore.
That sounds like real work to me. Now, have you done any shows yet?
Yeah, we did last weekend. We did 3 shows last weekend, and this will be our second weekend back.
What was the audiences like?
They were pretty jam-packed, and they were pretty not into wearing masks. But then again, enough of them wore masks that the people on stage didn't hear the reactions from the audience nearly as much as usual. So it was kind of disconcerting to the people on stage. They were like, "What's going on? Why isn't this audience reacting?" Well, they actually were reacting, but they're reacting through a mask. So anyway,
An interesting thing now on Robert Scoville's weekly meeting, they're talking about mixing from another room rather than in the front of house. Tell us, what was your experience like mixing in front of a lot of people? Were you masked up, and what was your feelings?
Yeah, well, I keep a mask on, but I feel like I'm putting myself out there because, like, all the people near me, they're drinking and stuff, so they have to have their masks off to have a drink and stuff. So, it's just, I feel pretty vulnerable, other than the mask is my only protection,
Mm-hmm.
I just had lunch with Robert and we were talking about this. It seems like a lot of the venues here in Arizona have gone to vaccination-only attendance. You have to prove it before you can go in.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the music venues in general are requiring that. In this case, in Vegas, I don't think it's going to happen in Vegas, but there is no requirement like that for anybody other than the crew. The crew has to be all vaccinated, but not the audience.
Mm-hmm. Michael, what are you hearing about that?
Sorry, I was typing you a note, so I wasn't listening.
Oh, well, basically we're talking about COVID, Las Vegas, and the showrooms wearing masks, not wearing masks. What are you hearing?
On paper, they're required. Period. End of discussion. Once the lights go down, it gets a little difficult to enforce.
Yeah, it's the law. It's the law. You got to have a mask on in any indoor venue in public. But
no,
if you're drinking,
are they checking? Now, are they checking any kind of COVID vaccines, or are they asking any questions? No rapid tests, anything like that in Vegas?
I don't think they are, but more just out of, since there's no universal standard. And even if you were let's say you're from Idaho or Washington or Illinois or wherever, whatever that state's health district agency does in terms of, do they send you a text? Do they send you an email? What is it? The only thing I think would be universal would be the card. But I got to think a lot of tourists would just say, "Oh, I forgot. I didn't bring it. I left it at home. I didn't realize I needed it, blah, blah, blah." So my guess is not too many people are checking that, but more out of that than out of any, privacy or whatever, any of the other issues that people want to bring up. I think it's more out of, there's just not an easy way to do it.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of crazy what's going on around now, but it seems like more shows. Everybody seems to be working. Everybody seems to have a gig right now. David, you just did a show, right? What was it like? What was it like as far as masking and how you were handling your show, and what was a little bit about it?
Hey, Jan, I gotta go. But good talking to you, and I'll talk to you later. Okay.
All right, thanks for joining us, Kenny, and good luck. I will talk with you later off air, and have a great show. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
So the show I did, everybody on the crew had to be vaccinated and masked. And the people who came to the event, most just did not care. I don't know if they had to be vaccinated or not, but they didn't all wear masks at all.
Now, where was this event?
This was an outdoor event. Downtown LA has an area called the Row, former factories, and the parking structure for this, which is new. The factories are all old, downtown LA stuff. Even though they're nice, they're old. But the parking structure is new, and in the center of the roof of the parking structure, they built a park with a slope up and a performing area at one end. So that's where the party was. So everybody took the elevator up the parking structure, and they were outside. And about 400, 500 people there. It was a young girl singer who was also an influencer. She's Latina, and she's a major makeup person. She has her own line of makeup. So there were a lot of booths for things that they could buy. There was a mariachi band, there was a salsa band, I mean, samba dancers. And then she did a performance, and then she did an interview talking about how she became an influencer. So it was this multimedia event that went on. And the thing that was really interesting was that she had her own sound guy, and they brought the Waves console, the computer. I had a CL5 to run everything else, but her show was run on a computer. They had 12 faders in front of them, or 16 faders, 2 banks of 8, and then everything else was on a touch screen. It sounded great.
Yeah, I've run into that a couple of times with Pitbull. Pitbull's sound guy brings one of those Waves consoles and then gives me left, right, and sub. And those, I've played with it a couple of times. They are very bitchin'. Although I'm not a big fan of touch screen faders, but other than that.
You know, the faders were real faders.
Oh, yeah, real faders? Oh, the ones that I've played with are virtual.
And they're out of Miami, by the way. So there's, maybe it's a Miami thing with Pitbull also.
I don't know.
Well,
Chris Carlton's in the room. He's from Miami. Maybe he could and ask give us some feedback on that. Do you know anything about that, Chris?
Yeah, that we've worked with Pitbull several times, and they're a good bunch of guys. Usually we bring in the SD10s for them, and sometimes the guy, depends on who the guy is, will bring the Waves console for front of house and just patch in to the board. Anyway, the Pitbull has branded himself really well, and he's done very, very well down here. So
he's a very nice guy too.
Yeah, super nice.
I was very impressed with this whole crew, including him, and I went into it thinking, oh, rap guy, oh, here we go, But not that at all. He was a very nice guy.
Yeah, no, he started out that way and definitely changed his image very early in his, and marketed himself very well, and comports himself very well.
Yeah. So now, how are the shows going on? Are you doing any shows, or are you basically taking more vacation time down in Florida?
There's been a lot of festivals down here. We've been working with our Brazilian brothers down here, and I've been pretty much staying away from it because there's no masks. I've just been pushing gear out the door and saying have at it, have fun, and then wiping everything down when it comes back. So
interesting.
Yeah,
because there's more. It seems like there's a lot of shows going on right now, all over the place.
Yeah, well, we got rid of our old Surgeon General down here because he didn't toe the line with the governor. And so the governor's got a guy in there that says, you don't have to wear masks. You don't have to get vaccinated. You can do whatever you want to do. So it's business as normal down here in Florida.
Yeah. David, didn't I hear that in LA, the fire department is suing the state or something like that, the union for the fire department?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of firemen and policemen who don't want to get vaccinated. So they're suing the mandate that they have to be vaccinated. Yeah. So it's kind of like biting off your nose to spite your face. You can't tell me what to do, even if what you're telling me is good for me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well,
but
the irony is that the police are saying you can't tell me what to do, even though I'm the person who's been tasked with making sure that everybody else does what we tell them to do in terms of following the law, whatever the law may be, right?
Yeah.
So I find it, just silly.
Well, maybe if they're waiting for the city to pay them for getting vaccinated, like Southwest. They're going to pay all their staff to get vaccinated. So rather than the stick of saying you're not going to be working if you don't get vaccinated, they're saying we'll pay you to get vaccinated. That might be an opportunity there.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case at all. I think they're really adamant about, no one's going to tell me what to do.
But it's crazy. It's crazy that the only people in the news right now, they just said that COVID in the United States now surpassed the Spanish flu pandemic at over 675,000 people that have died, and that's according to Johns Hopkins and the CDC. And the people now that are dying are the ones that won't get the vaccination. It's crazy. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, look at all the nurses that don't want to get vaccinated. I don't get that at all.
They got fired though. The ones in Texas, they got fired and then they sued and they lost, which is probably how the LA firefighters are going to have problems, because all firefighters are also EMTs. And so essentially, they're a healthcare worker.
What
From the
bothers
legal
me
aspect. Yeah, I'm
being-
sorry. Somebody was doing.
I'm sorry. Seeing
Okay,
all these hospital beds being taken up by COVID patients because people didn't get vaccinated, and people with other ailments coming in and cannot get into an emergency room. And so other people with other ailments are totally getting blown out, not being able to get the care that they need because of these people not getting vaccinated. It's very selfish.
Yeah, and in Idaho, it's even worse because now they're at an emergency level. There are no more beds, and now they're saying that they're in an emergency situation, that if they have to treat those that they think need the treatment the most. So if you go in there and you're dying a slow death, but you're an old person, they're going to send you home to die, rather than because they can't. They feel that it's a low priority for them because they're not going to be able to help you. And so those people are really in trouble.
You know, over New Year's Eve this past year, I had a blockage in my intestines. And so I had to go into the hospital. And that was during the peak of everything. When you look at those charts, right around New Year's Eve and Christmas is when the country hit its peak. And I was allowed to get in, and I was taken really good care of. But at one point I was saying, what happens if there's no room for me? You know?
Yeah. I mean, you think about it. I mean, how many people have gone to the dentist to get their teeth cleaned during this pandemic, you think?
I have.
What was it like?
There was nobody else in the office, you know, and I couldn't wear a mask.
Yeah, it was pretty normal. They were wearing masks, but they always do. I mean,
Yeah.
things, they look pretty normal.
There were
I
no
know when
magazines. There were no
I know when I
magazines.
take my daughter now, I have to, we drive up and we park, and then I call, and then when they're exactly ready for her, she can walk up to the door, they let her in, and it's only 2 patients at a time. There's two rooms, 2 treatment rooms, and that's it. There's nobody in the lobby, there's no waiting area, nothing. And then when she's done, they walk her out, and then the next person can go in. It's like that.
And there are no magazines anymore. Nothing to read.
Right, no waiting. So when I went the first time, it was before the vaccination was out, and the hygienist had a special mask that had a tube that went to a respirator on her back. And but then when I went back the second time, it was everybody had been vaccinated and they were more relaxed. It was more like a regular, checkup with masks. Of course, they were wearing masks, and it was pretty normal.
Very interesting. Very interesting. That's very, very interesting. And by the way, they just announced that Johnson & Johnson, their COVID-19 booster is 94% effective when administered 2 months after the first dose. So the vaccines, and Pfizer now just said that they could vaccinate children up to 5 years old or over 5 years old and up as well. And they say that that's effective as well. So that, I wonder what's going to happen there.
Here's something to think about. Moderna and Pfizer came out and they said you need 2 shots a month apart and you get 94%. Now Johnson & Johnson is saying 2 to 4 months apart and you get 94%. So were they wrong in the beginning and not going for the second vaccine and trying to get away with just one? I mean, right, it sounds pretty suspicious to me that they needed 2 all along.
Dude, everything is suspicious to me.
And that's why, that's why you have to do your own research. The challenge is that depending on where you're doing your research will be depending on the answer you find.
That's a good one.
That's it. You could find, whatever you're looking for, you could find. But it seems to me that I've been looking around. I haven't heard of any cancellations this week of shows. So things are moving on. LDI just announced, and we were talking about this last week, that you said that LDI would go on, Michael. But basically, the show must go on. So right now, over 3,000 people have agreed to attend LDI. And I believe that show is what, in October, November? So that looks like it's going to have good attendance.
3,000 is probably behind where they would normally be, though, to be honest.
I would imagine, yeah.
But that's to be expected because there's no international. Internet, they got lucky. So the new loosening of the vaccination requirements for foreigners visiting the US goes into effect in early November. So Infocom will not benefit from that, but LDI, CES, SEMA, National Finals Rodeo, all that will benefit from that. So that was probably a huge sigh of relief. And in looking back, that might have even been why NAB canceled. NAB may have gotten word that the loosening of the standards for foreigners visiting the US, or the opening up of the US to foreigners, it's probably a better way to put it, wasn't going to come till November. And then at that point, NAB said, well, if we can't have international, let's just not do it. Infocom is absolutely 100% going to happen. They're locked in. So we'll see how that goes. LDI is normally I want to say 25 to 35,000 person show. So by now they would expect to have, roughly 6 weeks out, they would expect to have at least 20 to 30,000 signed up. So having 3 signed up that's not good. But then again, LDI is now privately owned. So they might be another show that's just, they're going to do it no matter what. Just doesn't matter. They're going to do it.
Well, there's a bunch of things opening. Broadway's reopening. I hear that Hamilton is opening up, on Broadway. Ed Sheeran just announced that he's going to do some European dates next year. Luke Bryant is back out touring now. He's doing Sheds. So there are things going on as far as shows go. Like I said, more and more show. I just read an article that Manya grossed $1.8 million from a sellout crowd of 13,316 people at the MGM Garden Arena. But 4 years earlier, they played the same venue on the same day, and they only had 12,864 people. So they actually made more than $500,000 more this year than they did last year, I guess. So if that news is accurate, but again, who knows? Like you said, you don't know what to believe. It's like that old line. Believe me when I lie to you. That's it. Believe me when I lie to you. So also they're going to be opening the fire damaged Cathedral of Notre Dame. That's on track. I know this has nothing to do with it, but it's just part of the stories I picked up this week. They're on track to open in 2024, just in time for the Paris Olympics. So if you're buying tickets to go to Paris right now for the 2024 Olympics, you can go see the cathedral again, and all its. But then again, New York City had an estimated 45 million visitors. 45 million fewer visitors in 2020 than the year before. And they say it cost New York City $30 billion. So, there's been some hurt going on. You know what's interesting?
What?
This is an interesting story, nothing to do with COVID whatsoever, but it's an interesting story that Great Britain now intends to revert to the imperial system rather than the metric system. They're now allowing the government announced plans to allow shops to sell produce in pounds and ounces rather than using liters and grams as part of the Brexit plan to leave the Euro nation. So that's something that's pretty cool.
So meanwhile, I went to see Hamilton in LA at the Pantages.
When?
They have a lottery. and in all the Hamiltons, in Tempe, Arizona, in London, and wherever they have Hamilton, New York, and 20 pairs of tickets a show are given out at $10 a ticket, and they are front row seats. I've won the lottery twice, and so a couple of nights ago, I went to see Hamilton again for $10, front row. Everybody,
Very good.
if you're in one of those cities, go for it. It's possible to win.
Are there people singing along?
There's so many words in that show. I mean, it's like impossible. You got to be really focused on what they're saying. It's non-stop words. Really wonderful, but it's an amazing. No, nobody's singing along.
Okay,
Dave, you need to play the real lottery for the Mega Millions.
Hey, a reporter from New Orleans. He's got electricity. Yes. Do you have water too?
Not at the camp.
What about at the house?
Oh yeah, we're fine here. We don't have any problems.
That's good. You look good, Steve.
Oh, thanks.
No,
don't feel
not that
it.
you don't look. Not that you look bad last time I saw you, but you know you're looking good considering what you had to go through, and with Ida. You know,
Yeah.
it's not to mention.
I actually worked today. I went and did a setup this morning.
Wow, did you remember how to do it?
Yeah.
Was
I did
it like
little
riding
prep-
a bike?
I did a little prep work the day before to make it easier for me.
Yeah. Was it like riding a bike? Why is everything compared to like riding a bike? You get back on, you
Yeah.
remember how to ride a bike.
It's because you learn when you're young.
You know, it's funny. Along these lines, anybody watch the Netflix show Lucifer?
No.
If you haven't watched it, it takes place in LA, and the concept of the show is that the devil takes a vacation, and he's decided he's tired of hell, and he wants to take a vacation, and he decides to vacation in Los Angeles. It's a great concept. I love the show. But in one episode, you know, in like season 5 or 6, that actually they bring God into it, and God comes down to earth to mingle with Lucifer, you know, and because Lucifer's his son, and they're having a meal where God makes chicken, and he says, "Man, I love chicken," and then one of the characters says, "Well, that's probably why when anybody eats something, they always say it tastes like chicken because it's God's favorite food." I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. So, I mean, why is that? You know, why is it like anything that you eat? This tastes like chicken. You know? It's
I was
along the
surprised that rattlesnake tasted like chicken. I was at a party one
Yeah.
time and they had rattlesnake, and I didn't know that that's what it was. It was sort of, you know, going around the platter, and I was eating it, and they're like, "Do you know what that is?" And I'm like, "That's kind of like chicken, but I really don't know." "Oh, it's rattlesnake." Of course, I got
Yeah.
this mental block about snakes, so that was the end of that. I could never do that again. But
Yeah, like roadkill. Was it roadkill? Was it roadkill snake?
no, I don't know what the hell it was, but it was just, you know, it just rooted me out at that point.
Well, here in Thailand, they eat anything they won't
I'm
eat. I mean, same
sure.
like with Brazil, they'll eat anything. But here they eat bugs. I mean, they use bugs for protein because it's cheap, and you know, I was there was a bug on my window, and I had a friend over here, a Thai friend, and she looks at it and she says, "Oh, you know," she said, "Don't kill that. We eat those things." You know, oh my God, it was like, we ain't eating that here in this house. I'll tell you that right now. No matter what you eat anywhere else, you're not eating bugs in this place, you know. That's one thing I don't think I would try. I don't think I would somebody say, "Hey, try this cockroach. It's delicious, you know, nice and crispy. Doesn't taste like chicken." I'll bet anything that it doesn't taste like chicken.
No,
We
like
have plenty of those.
Yeah, I
Hey,
remember that
Jen,
movie.
have you made it out to the lobster place on the bay yet in Phuket?
Not yet. You know, the challenge is it's the rainy season here. So it rains every day. It really does. And they say that this is the largest rainfall in history of the country. This year it is raining more than it's ever rained before. And they had a water shortage. Believe it or not, they had a water shortage here. But now, because there are so few tourists and they've had so much rain, now they're worried about their dam overflowing.
Yep.
Because they can't use enough water.
It's flooding in Bangkok.
Oh, I've been in Bangkok where it's flooded, where I was going to a, let's say, a soapy massage place. This was many years ago. And I wanted to go so bad, but it was raining like crazy. And I'm walking down the street, and all of a sudden the street starts to flood. And I am walking in water up to my calves just to go get a soapy massage to get cleaned up, So in case you don't know what that is, you'll have to Google it.
Yeah. Happy ending.
Yeah. Oh, it's a happy beginning. When you get there, it's a happy beginning. Everything. They have a bar there. It's a wonderful place. It's famous and it's legal. But here in Thailand, this couple, they have an account on Fans OnlyFans or something like that. You guys know about that site? OnlyFans?
Heard of it.
And
my
basically
ex-girlfriend's out there.
Oh, really? What's her address? Let's go look. See what you were.
I'm not giving it to her. She stole like $4,500 from me, so yeah, I'm never getting that money back.
Well, that's it. Well, if her OnlyFans page works, she'll be able to pay you back.
There's a big controversy over that website recently where they stopped having porn, and then they changed their minds and went back.
Well, the reason they changed their minds is because they realized that once they did that, is all their income is coming from porn. All their income's coming from porn. And so they had no choice. They were going to go out of business because they didn't have any money. So there's this couple in Thailand that has an OnlyFans page, and they arrested these people, and they videotaped the arrest. The police videotaped the arrest. And there is a huge controversy right now the Twitter universe over here is going berserk on the fact that the government should leave these people alone and do go after other criminals rather than this. So, but yet soapy massages are legal in Thailand.
It is a ruinous game for almost everyone who plays it.
It's a busy week for me up here in Kohler. We're doing the Ryder Cup, and it's just been nuts, running like crazy. So tonight's our first official show up here. So if I get a little distracted, that's why.
How many people are there?
I haven't heard numbers. Where I am, I'm actually inside the city. We set up just see if I can flip my phone around here. This is what the stage looks like that we're providing. 3 big video screens. Right now they're doing like a promo video type deal for the event. So we have everything set up. And then we're at that white tent where we have front of house production. But yeah, they're predicting anywhere from 50 to 60,000 people a day up here. So I have a lot of friends in law enforcement, and they're basically mandated 16, 18-hour days for the next, I think, week and a half. And there's security everywhere. So the checkpoints, I don't have much to worry about for security, but I mean, if you get out to the course, there's like just security everywhere, because it is a huge event. So I mean, it's a pretty fun event. So,
what's the headliner?
Saturday night is the headliner. It's actually a double co-headliner. The main one is called Scaryvore from Ireland, and then there's another one that's also from Ireland, and it starts with a C and I can't pronounce their name, but they're both Irish rock Celtic bands. So they were able to get their visas and passports and everything in order to fly over here to do this event. So it's going to be a fun show. So it'll be a fun week. It's going to be a long week, but a fun week.
If that doesn't prove that people are dying to get out and be entertained, that they're going to have 60,000 people seeing 2 Irish Celtic bands, that is definitely the sign that things are back on path to.
I don't know if there's going to be that. I mean, where we are stationed, they're predicting 5,000 to 6,000 people at max. At the course, they're predicting up to 50 to 60,000 people a day at the course. So, and we're about 10 minutes south of the course in the city. So we're on a big village green in front of like a strip mall, and they got so much stuff set up here. They got like these. Let's see if I can turn my camera on. This ultra low. I mean, if I wasn't working, that's where I'd be at the Michelob Ultra. Getting drunk on the bar tab. but they got so much other stuff going on behind there. They got like this big water tent set up about getting pure water to everybody. It's just a huge event.
Well, that's
So-
very good. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We really appreciate it. It's really cool. It's
Isn't
very,
the
very
Ryder
cool.
Cup? Isn't the Ryder Cup country against country?
Yep, it's the U.S. versus the Europeans. So, and what's really funny is where we are, we're about an hour south of Green Bay with the Lambeau Field with the Packers. And today, I don't remember what team, but I didn't catch which team, but I did see a picture or video of one of the teams coming out with like Packer gear on and cheese heads on, which is what we're famous for. So, and then I think it's tomorrow they're having celebrity golf partners and everything. And the celebrities they have lined up for both the U.S. and Europe is just insane. They have from the U.S. They have one female golfer from the U.S. celebrity, Mandy Rose from the WWE. They have 2 former Packer players. They have a captain, I believe, from one of the teams way back when the U.S. I think back in the early 90s from the Ryder Cup back then. So it's going to be huge. I mean, there's law enforcement, Secret Service, FBI. I mean, everything around here is just nuts.
Well, and that's up in Wisconsin.
Yep, in Colder, Wisconsin. And the temperature dropped. Yesterday it was about 82 degrees, and now it's about 60, 65 degrees out. So it dropped about 20 degrees. So, and out where they're playing right along Lake Michigan. And the wind was blowing out there, and they said it was about 60 out there all day. But with the wind, they said it was probably more like 55 out. So it's going to be a little chilly out, but I mean, you got all those people. It's going to be a party.
Well, very cool. I'm glad you're working, and it looks like it's going to be a fun event. You know.
Oh yeah. I mean,
by the way,
I'll have plenty of pictures and videos, and after this week, I'll take lots of pictures and videos, and then next week maybe I'll share them on the Zoom call.
Hey, listen, when a little side note, I'd like to talk to you offline. So after this event is over, if you could remember to give me a call, I do need to talk to you. I have something I have to talk to you about. So there you go.
Okay, yeah.
This is
Like I
a
said,
paid
maybe-
political announcement. That's it.
Okay. Do you want me to call you later tonight, or do you want me to wait till like next Monday?
Call me next Monday. Just remember, I am like 14 hours ahead of you. So
like if
all
I
right.
call,
But yeah, when you're home sitting around doing nothing.
Okay, yeah, that would be next Monday. So yeah, maybe I'll
Good.
call you next Monday. It would be about 8 o'clock my time, so it'll probably be about 9 o'clock your time.
Very good. That would be perfect. Anyway, so anybody else want to share any jobs they're doing? What about you, Bruce? Are you back working? Greg, you working? What's going on?
I just spent 15 days in San Jose, which is the reason why I wasn't there the last 2 weeks. We were doing a Nutanix online like TV show. We were doing 6 or 7 panels at a time with people V-mixing in, and somebody sitting on a stool talking to them, round trip. And the show was also linked to Houston, our other studio, and the show call was out of Houston. So we had 2 sets of free speaks, one free speak wireless comm, one in my venue and one in Houston. And we linked the production channel and the camera channels together with 4-wire outputs into Focusrites, and then Zoom. We had 2 laptops sitting on top of the comm, and each channel had a Zoom meeting. So we were Zooming like this, except no visual. It was just comm, and it was like we were talking to Houston, and it was like they were sitting right next to us. It worked so good, it was unbelievable. But anyway, so as soon as I get I took a lot of pictures and some videos, and I'll post them all as soon as they said don't post anything until the show's over, and we got done last night, and I drove home this morning. So I'll have them up pretty shortly. So
Well, very cool.
but
So,
it was a
you know-
beautiful set. They built a beautiful set, put up 3 big video walls, and we were in a king size meeting room inside this office building, and totally transformed it. You'll see when I post the pictures. It's just absolutely beautiful. But we had a great time. I was up there for 15 days. It was cool.
Yeah. Does anybody ever think that we're going to get back to non-virtual
Yes,
reality kind of
every show
situations?
that I have done at the end of the show and at the beginning of the shows, every show that I've done online, you might say, or in these studios, they all said, Well, you know what? We're hoping to get everybody back together next year and get back to business as usual, because I know we all hate sitting in front of our laptops and talking to people. So, corporate shows are a couple of things. A, they're a big tax write-off for the corporations. B, it's all about networking and solving problems when you're eating lunch and hanging out and going to the bar and playing golf. It's not just our business meeting, but they do general sessions in the morning and then either breakouts or they go out and play golf. They have events that they do, and everybody talks and compares notes and networks. And so I think we're going to lose very little work once things get back on the swing of things. But I do think the couple of shows I've done with audiences, we've also broadcasted them live at the same time. So I think the people that either don't want to come or are invited but aren't on the higher list of you're coming to the gig kind of a thing can watch it online. So I think we're going to get back to normal. It's just a matter of how long, and we'll be adding in broadcasting the shows on the internet.
Yeah. Fred, what are you seeing? What are you thinking? What do you think the future is going to be?
Me?
Okay, Greg. Yeah, what do you think?
Oh, yeah.
And then Fred, I'd like to get Fred's opinion.
Oh, yeah, go with Fred. I'll be quiet.
I don't know. I'm usually in a truck. I'm going to Lansing, Michigan this weekend for week 4 of football. So as far as the live thing, like I said, here in Arizona, they've mandated everybody, have proof of vaccination to come in. So like I said, I was having lunch with Robert this afternoon. I said, I think that the front of house positions are going to come back, and you won't have to be so afraid, because at least, the people that are around you are supposedly vaccinated. So we'll see.
Yeah. So we had to show proof of vaccination for the crew, and there was about 20 of us on the operating crew. By the time you got done with the PAs and, everybody running around with their wireless comm, talking about, what their kids ate for lunch yesterday. And then the last day of the show, the big guy came in, the president, and when we got there that morning, all of a sudden we were all running out into the hallway and doing COVID instant tests. And in 15 minutes, when everybody was cleared, they called him on the phone, and down he came, and we mic'd him up, and he went out on stage and did his thing. So you never know, if they just spring stuff on you all the time. And by the way, this is the first test I've actually had to do for a gig. So, yeah. Which I find a lot of my friends are being tested every day when they're on gigs. It's the first time I actually had to take a COVID test. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, we're doing our shows. We got, we all have to be vaccinated to be we have to wear masks in the truck, a whole 9 yards. But yet, I was at Penn State 2 weeks ago. There's over 100,000 people that are not a mask in sight.
Yeah. Greg, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I did the NFL experience, Fred, on opening Thursday night, and the NFL is hardline, test every morning, and masks all the time, and I had people calling me every name in the book,
Why you?
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I was wearing a mask. They're saying, hey, you blankety blank, are you a chicken?
Oh, because the audience wasn't wearing them, but the crews were.
Absolutely.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of that going on where they're berating the working personnel for wearing a mask.
So did any of you guys see the Emmys? I caught a glimpse of it. I didn't see a mask in sight.
No, but I heard from Robert, he was doing the VMAs, and they were tested every other day. And masks behind the desk every day for everyone.
We all got together.
That's local 100 though.
We got together for lunch every day, and the one thing I noticed on crews and everything else is, you wear masks and everything else, but for some reason, COVID knows the rules. It's not supposed to get to you if you're eating lunch. 20 of us sit in a boardroom and eat lunch for an hour with no masks on. There must be a whole set of rules for COVID that I don't, it's crazy.
The whole thing about the Emmys is that they did a really big deal on making sure it was safe. So everybody was vaccinated and tested, and because it opened with.
I got news for you. So many vaccinated people are getting the disease that it's just,
Yeah.
I don't go for that. Either it's masks or not. Make your mind up. I don't think being vaccinated should have anything to do with it at this point because so many people are getting it.
They ought to test people if they've been vaccinated too, even though they've got the vaccination, they're still carrying it.
Yeah, and the other thing is that right now there is a huge false, phony COVID vaccine cards going around. People are printing them themselves, because in the beginning when everybody was getting the cards, they were posting it on social media. So of course the criminals got to see what it looked like, and then they saw it was a market to sell phony COVID tests.
Yeah, they're $10. They're $10 for a pack of 10 on Facebook. I see them every other day in the marketplace. Absolutely insane.
So they have Clear, that eyeball thing that you go through the airport. I started out a member of that until they started charging for it, and then it's kind of stupidly expensive. But I rejoined it again because you can put in your information and it goes to the county or to the state or wherever to get your information. So on your phone, you bring up your Clear thing and all your vaccination stuff comes up on it, so that you don't have to carry that piece of paper around, and nobody can accuse you of cheating.
I agree with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, didn't Clear drop their prices though, Bruce?
I haven't looked lately. I think it was 100 and something a year, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think they dropped their prices.
And the problem for me was a lot of the places I was flying into, like LAX, had Clear, but a lot of the places didn't. I think a lot more of them do now. I'll have to, once I start flying more often again, I'll have to look into that one again. But
I can see
doesn't it come down to, is a photo of your card acceptable?
Supposedly.
So, when I went to see Hamilton, they checked my card. I had it on my phone. I showed it to them and I walked in. So if that's considered acceptable, then why bother with Clear?
Yeah, well, true.
Unless you're coming into the country, and that's a different story.
No, Clear doesn't work coming into the country. It works if you're flying into a hub. I used to go from Tampa to Atlanta, David, and I tell you what, Friday at 5 p.m. in Atlanta, I breeze right through the line with Clear and, get all the damn looks, but that's why I got it. It was part of a credit card thing that I had. And I said, WTF, I might as well keep it. And I recently used it and I put in, I had a brother who had, some heart issues, and all the hospitals in Florida were booked up with COVID cases. So we sent him to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and I flew up and, bang, Clear at Tampa, bang, Clear at Baltimore on the way back. It's worth it if you travel a bit.
Yeah, you could jump the whole line. It's really kind of cool. Even the TSA line, they walk you right up and stick you right in.
Right.
Right.
Like, and then you get all those sales guys looking at you with a really stern look, on the phone,
I think they give too many people TSA. That's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
When moms are going through with their carriages and 26 kids and it takes forever and you're in the TSA line, it's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. I hear that Clear is expanding at a rapid rate right now, because also Live Nation just decided that they're going to use Clear as well. And probably if Live Nation's going to use it, AIG is going to use it, so that you'll be able to get into concerts. And if that can cut the line for you, a lot of people will just pay that $100 a year, even if it's just going to be for a couple of concerts that they're going to go to, so that they can get through really quickly.
Did you register for Infocom? Anybody register for Infocom?
Not yet. When is it?
October 24th, 25th, 26th. But anyway, if you register, I got a thing the other day that you gotta sign in with Clear. They want you to be on Clear, and it's got your registration, everything will tie to it with all your COVID information and how you want to attend the show and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the Florida Attorney General has already filed a complaint to them because in the state of Florida, you cannot require somebody, to have a COVID to attend an event. You could say, yes, you should have, but you can't require it. So
Oh, this is crazy. It's
silly.
crazy. It's crazy what's going on in some places. You know, we were talking about people getting COVID that's already been vaccinated. And I guess it's this monoclonal. They say that I know 2 people that have caught COVID after they've been vaccinated because they deal with the public all the time. And what I found is that they both said to me they got the monoclonal treatment, and within hours they were feeling back to normal. And of course, I just read an article about that now they're running out of the monoclonal treatment here in the United States. So, yeah, it's a challenge. We definitely have a challenge, but Clear is, Clear could be what it is to travel as Zoom it is to communication. So that's something that's kind of interesting. Also, one other thing, Fred, you were talking here about IATSE. You want to share that? What you were talking about in the chat on that?
I just copied. Came across an article on Facebook. It just basically says that the IATSE is thinking about going on strike because of a bunch of stuff made, a bunch of decisions made by some of the production houses. It looks like they want to pay them less for streaming services as opposed to feature films or whatever it is they're working on.
That's a smart idea.
It'll be interesting to see whether they do it or not, because our local union is IATSE here in Arizona. So we'll see if that's going to affect the sports markets and all the other stuff. But in the article, it says IBEW and IATSE are basically thinking about going on strike.
Well,
I think that's a smart idea.
Didn't Hollywood vote on it yesterday? The Hollywood, because it had to do with call times and pay and stuff like that too on shows and what they were shooting, because they were shorting, kind of cut them off on stuff. Actually, David Dansky would probably know more because it's got to do a lot with production calls and stuff like that in time frame and how to get out of time and how to get out of payment.
I was reading about it also. First of all, this is a vote to be able to strike if they need to. So once they get permission to strike, then they're going to go back to negotiations to see if they actually have to strike. And one of the things that they're striking for, or one of the many things, is the length of the workday, the fact that nobody's getting lunch, that if they do get a lunch, what they're offered is unacceptable. And then on top of all of that is the pay for streaming versus regular productions, because the producers have been getting away with not paying for streaming by complaining that they're not really making any money on streaming, and yet they are making a lot of money. So the IA is saying, hey, let's get some equity going between the two. And the producers are saying no. So they've got a lot of things that they're negotiating on to see if they're going to strike or not. But this vote was just to be able to strike.
Yeah, because the entertainment rate is obviously more money than a regular rate. At least when we do productions here in Arizona, if you do a sporting event, you have a rate. But if you do an entertainment event, the rate's higher.
So if you do a streaming
It seems to me crazy. It seems to me crazy that these guys would want to go on strike after not working for so many months, and now they want to go on strike. It just
but
seems
if
like
you're being forced to work a 12-hour day and not get a break, really?
It's a 14 and 16-hour day, not a 12-hour day.
Yeah, 12 hours before you get lunch, and then you still got another 4 or 5 hours to work? That seems a little insane.
And the pay
that is insane.
Right.
That is unfair.
And there's no turnaround penalties either.
Wow. No turnaround penalties either. It's tough.
Yeah, plus there's also the uncharted hours or how long you have to stand in line to get your test, PCR test, before you hit your call, you know?
Yeah, Robert was talking about that the other day when he went to go do the VMAs or whatever it was. He says he had to build in 3 or 4 hours before call time, and he was actually late on the first day.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I mean, there's some challenges that we're going to face as we get back to work, for sure. But I think that it is unfair if that's the case, that they don't want to feed you for 12 hours. And I'm sure there's no more craft service tables either, because they can't take that chance. So how do you eat, and where do you drink? What do you do?
Well, it's individual meals. That's what they do. Individually
Yeah,
wrapped.
it's box lunches. I mean,
We had craft service, but instead of having a bowl of peanuts and a bowl of M&Ms and all those bowls of stuff, instead they were little plastic bags catering brought in. So you walked into the craft services room, you picked up a little bag of mixed nuts and M&Ms, and you walked back to wherever you were doing. So that was how our craft services were. Actually worked pretty good. Little containers of, cut fruit and, bagels that were all in packages, and, there was no hanging out and just shoveling shit onto your plate,
Well, Bruce, I like the way you walked through the. For those hearing impaired, we're walking.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to bring something up to you guys, because we're I look around. There's a lot of gray hair in this room. So I'm at lunch, or dinner actually, with this couple, and let's just say they're in their late 30s, okay, for argument's sake. They're in the late 30s, and we're talking, and I said to them, I said, a lot of people ask me what it is I do with my day, how am I filling up my day, and I really don't know what to say to them. And the reality is, I wake up, I'll have some coffee because of the time difference here, because when I wake up here, let's just say at 9 o'clock in the morning, it is 7 o'clock in the evening in Las Vegas, right? And so, so basically I don't really have anything to do until 9 o'clock at night. I'm basically free all day long. I'll answer some emails. And I said, I don't really know what to tell people, what I do, because the day goes by so fast. I'm playing tennis, I'm playing pickleball, I'm going out to, and he turns to me and says, you don't have to tell them anything. You're 70 years old. You don't have to do a thing. And that hit me so hard that I can't get it out of my head. And I don't know how to take that, because I think that 70 is the new 50, Is anybody here thinking about retiring at any particular time, or are we going to keep going? And, I'm just really curious to get your opinion, in the room, of what you think about that and what your opinion is of that and why I'm so confused. Bruce, get your hand up.
All right. So this last summer, I turned 66 in the middle of all this bullshit. And I figured, the year that this hit in March, it was going to be one of my busiest years. I had the whole rest of the year booked already, and everything just went haywire. And I've had such a problem with the idea of forced retirement, because, it's not like I hate my job and I just want to retire. I actually still love what I do. My tolerance for bullshit has gotten very thin. But as far as building PAs and mixing shows, I still love it. It was my hobby, and I'm lucky enough to be paid for it. And so I always thought I would sort of slide off to retirement slowly, but now I almost feel like I have to get back to where I was before so that I can then say, fuck, the hell with it and quit, So yeah. I don't know. I have such mixed feelings about the whole thing, because I'm not willing to let COVID make me retire. I have such a mental block about that. It's unbelievable. So as of the moment, I have, the rest of the year, not full, but full enough to be comfortable, except December. And I have 3 one-week shows in the first 3 months of the year booked already. So I'm thinking that I'm probably now I may never be as busy as I was before, but I don't need to be. So I'm going to pick the shows I want to do, and I'm going to, just enjoy the next few years until I just can't deal with it anymore. But at this moment in time, I don't see a stop time, because I still, people say you got to have a hobby when you retire. Well, this is my hobby. So, it's what I do. I get on planes and I go do shows. It's like, I don't really want to do anything else. I'm not a surfer, and
So
Yeah.
do you have a bucket list of vacations you want to do?
Well, my wife has traveled quite a bit, and we've been to Korea a couple of times. And yes, there's a couple places we want to go. But if I do a show or so a month, well, that leaves a whole lot of room for traveling, and still make some money too at the same time on top of, whatever. And we're trying to figure out what mix would work the best. She's a contractor too, so she can pretty much pick her days. If we decide we want to go somewhere, we just decide and we go. But yeah, it's not what it's not what any of us expected, of course. But
So are you old enough to do the Alaska cruise?
we did already. We did 2 summers ago, and
Oh,
I
you're
want
old.
I want to go again, but I want to go farther up. That was beautiful. I loved Alaska. I thought it was gorgeous. But we want to do the Panama
Absolutely.
Canal. I'm dying to go through the Panama Canal.
Have you ever done the Galapagos Island cruises?
No, we've done a couple of local carnival ones just to get away for the weekend. But I think
it seems to me, I love Carnival Cruise Line because they've been a great client for me. But it seems to me, anybody going on a cruise ship, you're basically traveling in a petri dish, of disease. I mean, basically. Dansky used to do a lot of cruising.
Dan, were you a sound guy on a cruise ship, Dan? David?
I work with Chara.
Oh, okay.
I've been on probably 100 to 125 cruises with her.
Yeah, a friend of mine was a trombone player in a band, and when they locked down all the cruises, he was stuck on a boat for 6 months floating around in the Atlantic, waiting for some place to unload their cruise, and I couldn't imagine. They must have been shipping food out to him like every couple of weeks or something. But man, can you believe that? That's just crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
they've been doing cruises now for a month and a half.
Yeah,
We haven't heard about, we haven't heard anything. Except
No, and we've been talking to Carnival too, and they want you to be vaccinated, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. As far as a petri dish, well, so could the Emmys be too. I mean, if they're all taking all the precautions, that it's no different than going to a, whatever. Although it is more people, but
Yeah, but
Well, they haven't had a case of Legionnaire disease at the Emmys lately, but they've had it on cruise ships,
Right,
and also
right.
some other diseases. I mean, that was the first place I ever realized that wherever you went, through every door in a cruise ship, they were the first place I ever saw with sanitizer lotion for your hands. Every they have all those automatic
that's the
pumps.
norovirus. That's because of the norovirus. That's the one that everybody gets.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Did y'all see that Seth Rogen called out the people in his short monologue on, hey, this was supposed to be outdoors, COVID free. Why is there a roof on the tent? Oh, because we had to have chandeliers for the TV,
Well, I have a whole article about Seth Rogen from the producers, and they talked about how during the rehearsal, he didn't say any of that stuff. He knew about all the precautions that they took. Everything was approved by like 3 different agencies. They did everything according to the book. And then Seth Rogen comes up and talks about that. He was wrong. And they were really pissed at him for saying that because of everything they did to make sure it was safe. So that's exactly what he did, is what you're talking about. And he shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
He doesn't get any slack for being a comedian.
He knew better. And
Yeah.
It was good TV, though. I tell you that much. He got press on it. you know?
Yeah. Well, and that, I guess maybe that was his goal, to get press, or who knows what, I mean, when you go to the award shows and you stand up there and you say anything other than thanks for the award, and I want to thank my family and my preacher and my high school teacher, whatever, anything else other than that becomes a political statement.
Well, the producers said 3 months worth of intense work went down the tubes when he said what he said, because that's how hard they worked to make sure it was safe. So,
Wow.
and
that will be his last. That will be his, unless he has a mega hit. That will be the last time you ever see Seth Rogen at the Emmys, I think.
think
Maybe
so.
Well, he's probably
maybe
smoked too much pot before he went up on stage. That's probably what it is. But anyway,
he rehearsed a whole different thing. So,
but I want to bring back to what we was talking about, the 70s, and retirement. I mean, I'd like to get some more opinions on it. So David,
I'd love to hear what everybody thinks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, David, what's your thought process?
Well, I still love what I do, and what I do is not what depends. If I'm working for the music side of what I'm doing, it's simple. I show up with a set of headphones and a Sharpie, so I can do that for the rest of my life. When I do the corporate work, that's when it's a lot more physical. And so I was telling you earlier, I just did a physical show. I put in a system for this show in downtown, and I was saying to myself, do I still have the stamina to make this work? I'm in my 70s. What's it going to be like to work? And I ended up working from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m., a long day with no breaks. And my phone said I did 26,000 steps. And I did fine. So I'm not afraid of going out and do corporate work either. So when they call me, I'll go do it until I decide I want to travel more and I'm not available.
Right.
But, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. That's kind of it.
Yeah. Greg, what about you,
I
man?
feel the same way.
Yeah.
Greg?
For me, I think my guide mark is if I can't roll up a snake or a set of double op power cables at the end of the night, maybe it's time to cool my jets a bit, But I mean, I took a long break from the business, and now in the past half a decade, I'm back. And it's doing okay. But I tell you what, after that Thursday night, for the NFL experience, I had to have some Motrin the next morning. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And what about you, Steve? I mean, because I know you're thinking about retiring, but you're not. What's your feelings on this?
Well, I mean, I was going to retire at the end of last year when I hit, past my 66, and now I'm 67 and I'm still working. But, I like the physical part of the job. I mean, that keeps me in shape. It keeps me going. But I've also, I like to fish. And my wife and I, we want to travel a little bit because I haven't traveled a whole bunch, and I didn't tour. And, we travel with corporate shows, but you're stuck in a hotel or a ballroom somewhere, and you don't really get to see wherever it is you're working. So I want to be able to enjoy some of that while I'm still physically fit to do it.
Yeah. And well, I guess Ken dropped off, but Chris, what's your opinion? What are you thinking? I know you like to sail. You've got an amazing boat, but do you think that you're going to just at 70, or is there going to be an age where you're going to say, you know what, I just don't want to do anything anymore?
If I don't want to do anything anymore, I will perish. I got to do.
Look, sail away. Look at his shirt. Sail away. There you go.
I got to do something. It really depends on the projects, and if they're interesting. There's a lot of things I don't want to do anymore. And I'm getting a little more selective, but a lot of my clients are getting older and don't want to go out. So, there's always that. So.
Yeah. I mean, to look at me, I'm here in Thailand. I mean, you guys are talking about traveling. I'm living the dream right now. I am in Phuket, Thailand, where the money is 33-1. I'm dating this girl right now. She believe it or not, she's 48. You won't believe that, but she's 48 years old. I'm sure she's listening in right now. And she says to me, you're in a fishbowl. I said, what do you mean I'm in a fishbowl? She said, you're a fisherman. There's a lot of women here that would love to be with an American man, and I'm a single guy, But as I get older, I don't want to be alone anymore. I don't want to be the fisherman. I want to put away the fishing pole, except when I'm go with you, Steve, out to catch some catfish, some redheads or whatever. Well, no, redheads. No, I don't like redheads. I like blondes and brunettes. But, you can't tell, what a little hair dye will do. But it's really an interesting concept of where I'm thinking and where I'm heading and what it is I want to do, And I love what I'm doing. I mean, I absolutely adore what I'm doing, and I've got it down to where it's really hassle-free, for the most part. And if it's too much hassle, I tell people that, hey, you're better off on eBay than working with me, So, but is there a period of time where you come and you say, you know what, all I want to do is, I want to wake up and do whatever it is I feel like doing rather than have to be somewhere or someplace. And a good example would be right now, I have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to do this meeting. And I love it. I absolutely love it. There is no reason in the world where I could see where I want to stop doing this. And this is the 70th one we've done. It was a lot easier. Granted, it was a lot easier when I was in Las Vegas and it was a normal time for me, but I love this and I love doing this. And I really appreciate everybody who is participating in this and those people that are listening on Facebook and YouTube as well. And I would love to get more and more people in the room involved, but we really have a nice turnout every week. We get anywhere between 10 and 20 people in the room, and it's a wonderful thing. And the conversation is always entertaining and provocative and informative. So I really do appreciate what we're doing and what we're bringing to the world. And so many people have told me don't stop. So I'm not planning on stopping. And with that, we're going to stop. For those people in YouTube and Facebook, just remember everything you heard today is an opinion. So check out your own facts to make sure that you agree with us. It's like, hey, I don't care whether we're right or wrong. Just agree with us. That's it. That's what we want. So with that in mind, listen, we're going to stay in the room and talk for a while. But you guys, Facebook and YouTube people, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you again next week at the same time and the same place. And hopefully maybe you'll make it into the room. So stay safe, be healthy.